Alright guys, Lqgend. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. With the top CDL teams expected to start locking in their rosters over the next couple of days, the question has shifted to what some of the other CDL teams are going to be doing. Vancouver Surge made 4 grand finals last year at LAN events, but didn't win any of them and have decided to totally blow up their roster, maybe because they weren't good enough, or maybe just because they don't have the money. Rambo's gone as a coach as well, and what are they going to do going into next season? Rumour has it that one of the OpTic Halo players is in heavy consideration for some of these CDL franchises, potentially Surge, but that might depend on their choice of coach. Where do we go from here? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Nice little clutch there from Kismet on Redwood BO3. This I thought was interesting as well. Falcons, they've done it again. They've won the Esports World Cup. You can see Xnid on the right-hand side. You've got Pred, Arcetes, and Tej. Of course, that was their COD team they turned up to the event with. Pretty interesting just because... well, it's funny, isn't it? They enter everything, so of course they're going to win it, right? Like, even if they don't do that well, as Taylor says, all this cash going straight into Cellium's pocket. So yeah, congrats. I guess Falcons won it again. There was a bit of talk, even Merc was in the replies saying like, you know, it's a bit cheese, right? Because Liquid and Vitality, they entered quite a lot of attendance. I mean, look at this. They entered 13 tournaments, so they had teams in 13 different events that were happening at the World Cup. That's quite a lot. Falcons entered 22. So it's kind of impossible not to win, really. But we did have Liquid and COD back in the day, and, well, I do wonder whether that could ever happen again at some point. We know that SSG are interested in potentially buying out Ravens or getting that spot. Obviously, we know that HyDra and Envoy are very much interested in getting back into the league as well. But let's talk about some of this roster stuff. Hex, I'll share these clips in a couple of seconds, was discussing challenges and really the state of things. We know that OpTic didn't used to ever want to take a risk on a challenges player, and that was understandable for some time. Then they picked up Ghosty a couple of years back. That worked out. They didn't keep him in the end. They dropped him for Kenny, and that worked out even better. And then this season, right, bringing in Mercules, when there was a possibility they didn't have to do that, right? Maybe they keep Skies, accept that they were going to be pretty bad for the rest of the season, try and build a better team in the off-season. That is, of course, not what happened once Mercules was found in challenges. And look, Mercules was known about. He had a trial on a pro team, potentially Ravens. He was okay in that trial, but maybe not as good as he turned out to be a few months later. He made some improvements to his play for sure, because he was still early at that point to actually playing Respawn, even Mercules. So it's understandable that he improved pretty dramatically, but he was always going to be on the verge of getting a Pro League spot. It's just that clearly the discovery of Mercules shows that there should be other players out there at some point as well, and maybe Envoy's opinion earlier in the season was not exactly bang on the money. But as Hex says, we've got 12 CDL teams. Lots of these great challengers players don't get the opportunity. Again, for me, the big L is the lack of an ability to play when you're under 18 years of age. I think it just destroys challenges in many ways. Makes sense for the Pro League, but in challenges, there's got to be something that the league can do about that. Now, this is a Halo clip, of course, not Call of Duty, but it's still relevant because this guy, Lqgend, has been known as one of the most talented Halo players. For those who watch the HCS will know that this guy is different gravy, and we know that there have been many talented Halo player have success in Call of Duty. Formal, an excellent example. Enable, another one. Shotzzy, of course, as we know. And even other players like Huke and like Kremp, who maybe started in COD but made a transition to Halo. I mean, these shots are just disgusting here. Like, this is in 8, and like, I can't believe what this guy is doing to the to these pro players on the other team. So anyway, Lqgend is highly rated, and for good reason, and he's made it very clear that he's a free agent for Black Ops 7, because Halo, the HCS, is effectively coming to an end this year, and for next season, it's going to be a very different story. You're going to have players like Lqgend and potentially others trying to make the transition to COD. Frosty, another example as well. What he did in Modern Warfare 19 coming over and then somehow didn't get a spot in Cold War despite being excellent that year. There was some drama with Florida. I don't know if you guys remember that. But Lqgend wants to make the transition, and according to sources, this is a possibility. Now look, is Lqgend going to replicate what Shotzzy has done, what Formula's done? But look, if Lqgend comes in, runs a sub, like, this guy is a real player to watch. And yes, if you're a top CDL team, it would be too much risk to sign a player who's not played competitive COD before. Some challengers players will be like, damn, this is totally outrageous that you're picking this guy over me. But I get it, because there's more upside there. And if I'm a team that isn't in the hypothetical top 4, I'm absolutely having this conversation, because if you're building a roster for next year and you look at it and you say, that's probably not going to win anything, or maybe would make a Sunday once or twice a season, you might as well take a punt on a player who has some serious upside. I know that FaZe, I wouldn't say they thought about it, but K-Sun from FaZe was saying that he really rates Legends. But I think from the FaZe perspective, it's a little bit too much of a risk, I guess. They've signed 04, we think they're getting Abuzah as well. It's going to be Drazah, Simp, 04 and Abuzah. That's the rumour. That's a solid team, right? They might be able to do pretty damn well next season. So maybe it's a bit too much of a risk to say, oh, sorry, 04, we're going to get Legend instead as our second sub. Maybe it gives them more upside, but also there's a lot of risk. You're probably accepting that in the first couple of months of the season, it's not going to be great. Same thing, of course, happened with Shotzzy when he came in. His opening to the year on Dallas Empire wasn't great, but relatively swiftly, he picked it up. So, Surge are looking at Legend as a key target for next year's roster. Now, Jake Hell comes out with this, so pretty rare that we see a Jake Hell bomb nowadays, but he dropped one, which was nice to see. First, he's got the Charlotte Major for HES, then Worlds in October, then he's going to be coming to the Call of Duty League. So what that looks like from a contractual perspective is very interesting because he's still contracted to OpTic as a Halo player for the next couple of months. So can you sign him yet? Can you have some sort of pre-agreement? Maybe that's what they're going to have to do. Following the footsteps of Formal and Shotzzy, look, we'll see about that. Taylor says he's also heard that multiple teams are interested in getting Legends. Surge are the most interested. I think it's possible that he starts down in challenges, but I'll tell you right now, it's pretty unlikely. SSG might come in for Ravens, and if I'm SSG, I mean, this guy played for your Halo team, I'm definitely bringing this guy in. If nobody else gets him, if I'm Space Station Gaming, I'm buying out the Ravens, I'm getting Legend if somebody else hasn't got him before. But the feeling is that Surge are the most interested in this development. Now, we've got to say, it wasn't long ago we talked about Surge being very interested in the entire Omit team, looking at Craze, Mumba, Vivid and Mac and just picking them up as a whole entire quartet. That's still a possibility. As Ronnie says, this is very much dependent on what the coaches have to say and who they select as their new coach. Rambo is no longer coaching that team. He either left or was removed or whatever the case is. I mean, they wouldn't remove him, it would make no sense. Presumably he left and he thinks there are maybe better opportunities elsewhere. Gentlemates is one for sure with the Envoy, Neptune, Sib and Ghosty team that we think that they're forming. Again, that's the team I just mentioned. Pretty nice team on paper. Gentlemates, Legends, could make some sense. French player, French talent. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gotaga thinking in a couple of years to have Legend and HyDra on the same team at the same time. That would be exciting, but I think they look at that Envoy, Ghosty, Sibbons, Neptune team and say, well, you know what, this team could actually win stuff, so it's probably not worth taking the risk right now, which I also understand. So, Surge seem very interested, but Ronnie says that advise caution on this. It might not happen because the organisation is still struggling, which is kind of funny, to finalise the new head coach position, which is an interesting way to say it because it sounds to me that they've got a few head coaches they're interested in, but they're struggling to give them compelling enough offers maybe to choose Surge as their destination, leaving many possibilities. And Ronnie went on to say on the Reddit that because without a set coach, any roster stuff can change. They've been speaking to like 3 coaches, all with different roster ideas. And he went on to say that the Omit situation is like one of the coaches just wants to pick up the Omit team. So if they get that coach, that's probably what they'll do. But if they get another coach, then they might do something else. Now, you might argue that Legends, for people that watch Halo, is so talented that if you could get him, you've got to try. But also, does Surge have that much bread? I mean, they sold Luminosity, the ownership group sold Luminosity for 700k or whatever. Maybe that's where the money's going to come from to pay for a better head coach or something. Well, you can't really get better than Rambo, but you know what I'm saying? Get someone in who actually might do a decent job. Maybe they could afford whatever it be, buyout from OpTic or some sort of discussion like that. It would be pretty interesting because they've dropped their entire team because they can't afford to keep them. Seems to be the logic there. Also, part of it is not many players really want to play out of Vancouver. I think, and my understanding is it's a key reason why that Surge team blew up and all of those guys are going their separate ways is because no one really wanted to play there. Like, if Surge were to say to Abuzah, all right, we'll pay you double what FaZe are going to pay you, then sure, maybe he would stay. But even if they offered him the same or slightly more, these guys were just going to leave to whatever opportunities they got. And that is basically what Surge have done. So is Legend to Surge likely? I think it's possible, but I actually think it's relatively unlikely in all this context. I think it's more likely that he goes somewhere else. And actually, Breaking Point say for all hopeful Surge fans for various reasons, including budget, shock, plus location, and Legend status, this is unlikely. Not a 0%, but unlikely unless there are significant changes. So, yeah, that's as far as we understand that Legend is absolutely a target for multiple teams. Surge is one of them. But look, if I had to guess, I mean, what do you think is going to happen with Surge? What are they going to do? I think the rumor that they might just sign the entire OMIC team is plausible because I don't see, you know, Vivid and Mac and Craze and Mamba. I think Craze and Mamba, I mean, all of those players could be picked up individually by another team, but they're probably not going to get an offer that's so compelling that they don't take a Surge offer instead if it was there. So I think it's plausible that that entire OMIC team just becomes Surge. It'd be interesting to see how that would actually play out, right? Whether that would be a good idea or not. And there's apparently a coach out there who wants to just do that, work with those guys and try and build them into a more competitive team going forwards. Is that roster going to make finals like the most recent year's roster did? Unlikely, but that's probably just where Surge are right now.
That's the problem with the current state of affairs. Talent like his is out there still in challengers being fucking wasted. And I'm not saying that they, and I talked about this yesterday on the Pine Park After Dark, but like it should be open to fucking everyone. Like I hate the fact that there might be somebody out there with the same sort of mentality that I had in my day and is not going to be able to have a shot to do what I was able to do with my people around me as not as easy, because obviously it was very hard to do what we did, but like, man, like there's somebody out there right now that has like all the opportunity in the world to become like fucking, to bring something new to the table, but they can't because it's walled off. Only 12 teams can fucking play. Why? There's no reason.
Like, there would be upsets.
I'm gonna keep fighting, man. I'm gonna keep fighting until this thing.
Back. He's gonna clear Bata first and then react. Let's see how this goes.
What do you think?
Oh!
Fucking hell, bro.
Oh my god. Ender's got fucking shit on. Oh, Ender's not gonna read this, bro. He's gonna think he's bathtub. He's gonna check it though. Oh my god. Is he gonna get more than 7 kills? Oh my
What?
He's put Game Twist on. Ender's just put Game Twist on. Ender's just put Game Twist on.
As we saw with that clip, it's not like Legend can't play COD, right? He played Illy in a 1v1 a while ago and pretty much smoked him. So, yeah, obviously it's a 1v1, right? It's 1v1 half when it is what it is. But it's not like this guy can't shoot in COD. Give him time. He will be an absolute force on the map. There was also this doing the rounds. So Insight tweets out moods today. And, well, this is Abe with some sensational posture with his new standing desk. Now, this is pretty funny. But also, what's going on with Insight, right? Because Insight's been dropped, right? He's out of there. He tweeted out on the 12th of August, unrestricted free agent for 2026, but presumably, because Abe is still signed, right? Abe is still on Toronto. They confirmed that they're going to keep him as a sub, but they're going to ask for no buyout if somebody else wants him. So, you know, but he's still there for now, and he did a pretty good job back at the World Cup. But here's Insight in the room with Abe. JoeDeceives is quote tweeting the Insight tweet. So I'm like, is Insight just going to go back to Toronto after all? Is that going to be the change? That they basically just swap out, well, they've lost Beans, right? And they're bringing in Real. So JoeDeceives, Real, CleanX, Insight, is that just what it's going to be? Maybe, right? Maybe that's perfectly fine. I don't mind it necessarily. Can you upgrade from Insight? You probably can, but are there many good options out there that you could do so with? You know, maybe you go and get Nasty. It's a possibility instead of Insight. I can see the logic there, definitely, but also a lot of history with Insight and CleanX, and they were pretty effective together at the World Cup. So there's a few factors that maybe lean towards Insight going back to Toronto after all. And just the final thing, racking up between the rookies of the last few seasons, BO4 Simp, BO6 Merc, who had the better rookie season. Obviously, if you look at KD and stuff like that, it's going to lean Simp's way from an individual standpoint. From the team success perspective, I mean, it can go both ways. They both won the World Championship. They both won the 2 biggest final events of the season. Did Merc have a bigger impact in making the team? You know, this was the talking point, right? Team placing boost. Simp's team was averaging 7th and ended up averaging 2.5, whereas Mercules did better than that, but it's not like Simp didn't also have serious impact. So I think you can debate this a number of different ways and tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. One thing I do find interesting is that last year, the Flank did a ranking of the best ever individual seasons in COD. Not rookie seasons, best ever seasons. The final was BO4 Simp versus Infinite Warfare Formal, and they voted for Simp. So if you're going to say that Simp's BO4 season was the best ever, then you know, if you're going to say Mercules' year was better, or at least up there, you've got to also say that Mercules' season was like the best individual season by a player ever, which it clearly wasn't, right? And as far as rookies go, yeah, but it wasn't like, it obviously wasn't long enough to also have that discussion. So a couple of ways to look at it. Either Mercules' year was just unbelievable, which it was, but, you know, not maybe Infinite Warfare Formal levels, or this analysis they did last time out was a bit fraudulent. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.